new to BookTube and long-form video, I am mostly on BookTok and Bookstagram. I'm Hannah, the paperback Butcher. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already to welcome me to the platform and stick around for more bookish content. Today, we are going to go on a little book vlogging adventure to go book shopping in Minnesota. I went home this summer to visit family and had to sneak some bookshops in there. So let's go book shopping together and stay tuned for the haul at the end. And first up on our trip is Scout and Morgan Books in Cambridge, Minnesota. This wasn't something we had planned to stop by. We were killing some time and saw this cute little bookshop that was attached to this like coffee shop grocery store co-op thing. It was super cool. Anyways, they had a really great collection. It was super cute and cozy in here. I really loved that in the back they had all these books on the floor. I'm not sure if they were like sale books or what was going on here, but the owner gave me a bookstore map as well, and it led me to my next indie bookstore, the Avant-Garden bookstore, that when I was growing up used to be just a coffee shop, and I used to go there to drink the Anoka Mocha because it's in Anoka, Minnesota, but now it's books and coffee, and that just made my little heart so happy. They had a huge selection of feminist literature, queer literature. We visited during Pride Month, so the Pride displays were everywhere, which makes my heart so happy. And it was just so cute and cozy. I was having such a hard time deciding what book to get, and I decided that first we need to caffeinate, and that will help me make some decisions. So I got, of course, the Anoka Mocha. You have to. It's like one in Rome, right? And it was super tasty. It's got chocolate, almond, steamed milk. It's delicious. Go to Anoka, Minnesota and get it. From there, I saw some favorites and not so favorites. I love the Gunkel and Her Body and Other Parties, but the female persuasion was just weird. From there, we went to downtown in the Twin Cities, so aka St. Paul and Minneapolis, and we found this gorgeous library. I mean, can you believe that this is some people's home library? You are so freaking lucky. So we went in, and it's totally giving off this TVA, you know, if you watch Loki, you know, vibes in the main hallway corridor area. They had tons and tons of new fiction, which was just awesome to see. But I don't know what was going on that day. They had almost every single bookshelf caution taped off, and it said do not enter. I don't know. It was a weird vibe. So we were about to leave until we found this little back room with all of these bookshelves with these buttons on the side of them. And I thought, you know what? I don't know if I'm supposed to push this button, but I'm gonna push the button, and sure enough, these shelves move. I don't know if I was even allowed to do this, but nowhere was there a sign that said I couldn't. So I walked in between all of these shelves as they were moving, and I felt like I had like magical powers. Like, can you imagine how many books you could have in your house if this is what your bookshelves did? Like, this is so cool. I don't know if I've ever felt more powerful in my entire life. All of these books back here were older books, so they all had that like really book musty smell. It was fantastic. Then we went to Majors and Quinn. Once again, we found it on the Midwest Indie Bookstore Roadmap, and they had a selection of used and new books, so that's always my favorite. I love a pre-loved book because it's cheaper, and I don't even mind if there's some writing in it. It's like a little love message from a previous reader. So I was just super hyped to see how big it was, like what? And also they are open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like, what a dream. I wish I lived in the Twin Cities so that I could live and go to this bookstore all the time. They had so many cool totes. I spotted a lot of fun items from my favorite out-of-print clothing brand, and just so many books in so many different areas. Of course, they had some rolling ladders. They had art books. Everything was just beautiful inside. And everywhere you looked, I saw that they had all of these accolades. They've won so many awards for being such a fantastic bookstore. So I thought that was really cool. I spotted some favorites while scouring the shelves here as well. And I even found a little guest book and had to leave my mark. If you see it, let me know. Take a picture, tag me if you go there. And then the store just kept going. I started walking towards the back, and there was just more and more books. This is where we got to my personal favorites, more of the fiction, the YA, the graphic novels, but I feel like this is one of those bookstores that will literally have something for everyone just because of how freaking massive it is. So Majors and Quinn is definitely the spot to go to, especially if you're like me and you love used books. So definitely add to the top of your Minnesota bookstore wish list, travel destination spot, and let me know if you see any of your favorites on the shelves in the comments down below. I would love to see what books your eagle eye has spotted. I know when I watch book videos, I always am like, oh my gosh, there's a favorite, and it's fun to see which different covers we recognize while just walking through different bookshops. And about now, we are overdue to see some of my favorite series. I'm currently reading the Red Queen series, or I should say listening to, and we were overdue for a hand sighting. There she is out in the wild. She is having the best day, living her best life because she's surrounded by books and she's in a new to her-ish city. My favorite things while traveling are always finding new bookstores, finding indie bookstores, and then finding local coffee shops. And if you can combine both of those together into one place, or let me do both back to back, nothing will make me happier in this world, I swear. From there, I finally decided it's time to purchase a book. We need to find something, and I've had this one on my TBR for ages, The School for Good Mothers, and they had a used copy, so I'm always happy if I can find a cheaper option. And here were some of their picks for the bookstore itself, some of their best sellers, some of their employee picks. And you know what? The store just keeps going. They have puzzles. I really want that Van Gogh puzzle. I think I'm gonna have to order that online because I'm obsessed with Van Gogh. And they even had this section, this little glass section on the left here that has rare books. So they had some other journals and other pretty things over here that are very giftable items, but I was very intrigued to see what they had behind the lock and key. They had this super strange copy of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, super creepy cover. They had like a knight, Arthur and his knights book. But this series here caught my attention because it is printed in 1790. Cool. I feel like for $5.75 that is a steal. Also, this bookstore has some of the best merch I've ever seen. I want one of these winter hats so badly, but I live in Arizona, so like what's the point? I did almost buy this mug because it is beautiful, but I don't really advise buying mugs when you are about to be away from home, traveling with luggage for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So I did not buy a mug. But I have recently, as of January, decided that every bookstore I go to, I'm gonna buy a tote if I love it. So I have a massive tote bag collection, and Majors and Quinn was in. And our last stop of the day is Once Upon a Crime mystery books. I love that the silhouette and their logo is like a body. It's so funny. And on their window it says for a good crime call, and it has their number. I thought that was so good. So you have to step down these steps and you go into this like little creepy basement, and what is more fitting than that? Once you open the door, there is just good, creepy fun all around. There are thrillers, there are mysteries. They are just stock full in this area. I love checking out the employee area. I found some of their fun recommendations, and I saw this interesting sign that said, please ask us to show you the annex. So I had that in the back of my mind, and I found this fun section of Scandinavian authors. As someone who's Finnish, I have never ever seen this, so finding a section dedicated to authors that are from Finland, Norway, and Sweden is just so cool. Definitely bookmarking these authors to come back to later and to see if any of them are Finnish like me. And then this is when I decided to, take some deep breaths and get over my social anxiety and talk to the lovely bookseller and ask if I could check out the annex. They said yes and brought me down a creepy hallway, and I wondered if this is where I'm gonna get murdered. But no, they just brought me to this room full of vintage books. And just like my voice is coming through the speaker right now, I wish that I could send you smells the same way, because it smells fantastic in here. It's got that old musty book smell. Like I want to bottle it up and just wear it every single day. Anyways, on every single surface there are old beautiful vintage books that are also of course mysteries and thrillers and the like, and there are these gorgeous chairs that you can hang out and get cozy and just take your time reading. And I just set my phone down and did laps around the annex, just taking it all in, because when do you get a little bookstore full of vintage books to yourself? Never. I think this is one of my coolest bookish experiences that I've had, and I just wanted to just, take it all in. I'm pretty sure I got teary-eyed. I am a nostalgic little silly little goose, but I was just so happy that I asked and discovered and got to be surrounded by books. Imagine living in here. Also, I realized I was wearing my bookish necklace, and that just made my day even more. And so I danced around in my best dress, fearless, and had the best time checking out the annex. One last smell for the road. So if you're into thrillers and mysteries, you need to go to Once Upon a Crime. It smells amazing. Go visit the annex. It is 100% worth the adventure. Thanks for coming along with me to Minnesota. Let's check out the haul. I got 4 books in Minnesota. Stay tuned. I have book shopping videos coming soon for DC and Spain. And I got way more books than 4. So let's get started. First off is the one I already read on the trip. I had to read Meet Me at the Lake because I bought it after going on a lake day. My mom is really into fishing and wanted to take us all on a pontoon, so that was a first for me. I am usually more of an indoors girl than an outdoors girl, but I really enjoyed the lake, and I love finding a book that just like suits the energy of the moment, you know? So I got Meet Me at the Lake, and I freaking loved it. And this just was announced that it was picked up to be adapted for the big screen. I believe it's going to be a movie, but the interesting like fun fact about it is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are starting a production company, and this is gonna be one of the adaptations that they take on. So I'm very curious to see what they do with it. I think it's a beautiful love story. I mean, I gave it a solid 4.5 stars, but I'll round it up to 5 for the sake of star ratings. And I picked that one up at Scout and Morgan Books, which they were so nice to give me a little bookmark. How cute is that? And to remind us that if you can't shop there in person, they're on bookshop.org as well. And I also have a fun little tradition of whenever I travel, I try to buy a book, and then I try to buy a postcard. And on the back of the postcard, I write the date of the trip, and then I write myself a little note about the things that I did on the trip, just kind of like memories, essentially like a mini diary or journal entry. And then I go ahead and I pop that into the book. I also often put in, you know, the airline boarding pass, just because I think they're cute, and it's a fun little memory to keep inside of your book for, you know, when you read it later or loan it to someone. They make for good bookmarks, and it just makes my bookshelf feel more personal and more uniquely me. I'm hyped to read this, and I like that we're kind of having a theme going on here with the pink. You and Me in 1 Year, Don't Let Me Down. Fern has wasted too much of her adult life thinking about Will. She spent 24 hours in her early 20s with this aggravatingly attractive, idealistic artist, with this chance encounter that spiraled them into spending a day-long day together adventuring the city. Their timing was all wrong, but the connection was undeniable. They shared every secret, every dream, and made a pact to meet each other again in 1 year. Fern showed up, Will didn't. So it kind of takes place on both timelines, going back to their connection that day and what their lives were like, and now in the future, I believe like 9 or 10 years later. Phenomenal. Next up, I believe I got this one over at Majors and Quinn, which was one of the coolest bookstores I went to on this trip. And it was a used copy of The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan. I have been really, really hyped to read this. It was one of Barack Obama's reading picks and a Jenna's book club pick, so I feel like that's a lot of hype already to live up to. But it's about one lapse in judgment that lands a young mother in a government reform program where the custody of her child hangs in the balance. So that's all I'm gonna read. I like to go into a book without reading a full synopsis if I can, because I just want to be surprised and delighted as we go. I'll definitely be having to remove this sticker because it is my rule that no stickers are allowed on these sacred bookshelves. So that's up next. Next two are both from Once Upon a Crime, which was that super creepy, cool basement bookstore that carries mysteries and thrillers. I love a thriller, especially in between romances. I love to do like romance, and then once I get like suffocated by the happily ever afters and I need a little like this energy, you know, we go for something a little stabby, a little creepy, a little horror, a little killing. So the two thrillers that I picked up, This one is called Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kurian, and this was one of their employee recommendations. I always think it's kind of fun to pick up something that the bookstore themselves recommended. I've also got bookmarks inside and another really cute postcard that will be going inside of that last book we looked at. I just really love how on the spines of the book it spells out Minneapolis as well. I haven't written my little note to myself yet, so I've got some homework to do. Never Saw Me Coming is a New York Times best thriller of 2021, and let's see. It would be easy to underestimate Chloe. She's a freshman honor student, the hot girl next door, and also happens to be a psychopath. Chloe is one of 7 students at her DC-based college who are part of an unusual clinical study of psychopaths that tracks their moods and movements. But she has a side hobby involving a childhood friend who grievously wronged her. When one of the students in the study is found murdered in the psychology building, a dangerous game of cat and mouse begins, and Chloe goes from hunter to prey. Sounds good, right? I mostly had to get it because it was the employee recommendation, but also because they mentioned DC, and I love when the locations tie into where I'm going or where I traveled to, and I was going to DC after this. The last book from the haul, I've been seeing Lucy Foley everywhere, and I've seen this book everywhere, The Paris Apartment, but I've never read any of her work, so I am super hyped for it, and I think she's also the author here of The Hunting Party and The Guest List. I think I might own a copy of The Guest List. I'll find out. So meet the residents of number 12, Rue des Amants, a beautiful old apartment building in the City of Light. The socialite, the nice guy, the alcoholic, the girl on the verge, and the concierge. Everyone's a neighbor, everyone's a suspect, and everyone knows something that they're not telling. See you in Paris. Right? I love how like short and sweet that is. I wish more books kept it this simple to keep a little more mystery in the book and to not give so much away. It's like movie trailers. They show you all of the best punchlines and like all of the best parts, so then when you watch the movie, it's like, okay. That's the haul from Minnesota, smaller than usual, but that's because I was hoping at the beginning of my trip not to buy so many books, but then we went to DC and Spain and it got out of control. So stay tuned for that. Once again, thanks for being here. I'm new on BookTube, so make sure to tap that subscribe button and hit like. It helps me out so much, especially as a new creator on this platform. And happy reading.